As you may know, semiconductors or chips are essential for advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biotechnology. The global semiconductor industry is worth over $500 billion and is expected to double by 2030. The chip-making process involves a complex and integrated network of companies and countries that design, manufacture, and assemble the chips. For example, an iPhone has had chips that are designed in the US, manufactured in Taiwan, Japan, or South Korea, then assembled in China. The US has been the leader in chip innovation and design for decades, but it has also relied on its allies in East Asia, especially Taiwan, to produce the chips at scale and at low cost. Taiwan is home to the world's largest chip maker, TSMC, which supplies chips to Apple, Nvidia, Qualcomm, and many other US tech giants. Japan and South Korea are also major players in the chip industry, with companies like Samsung, Sony, and SK Hynix dominating the markets for memory chips, image sensors, and display panels. China, on the other hand, has been lagging behind in the chip race, despite its huge domestic market and ambitious plans to become a global leader in technology. China imports more than 80% of its chips from abroad, mostly from Taiwan, and spends more on importing chips than on importing oil. This makes China vulnerable to supply disruptions and sanctions from the US and its allies, who see China as a strategic rival and a potential threat to their national security and economic interests. That's why China has been trying to develop its own chip industry and reduce its dependence on foreign suppliers. China has set a goal of achieving 70% self-sufficiency in chips by 2025 and has invested billions of dollars in subsidies, research, and talent acquisition to boost its domestic chip production and innovation. Bloomberg reports that China imported about $40 billion worth of machinery and semiconductor equipment in 2023, a 14% rise from 2022. China has also been acquiring chip-making equipment and technology from abroad, especially from the US, Japan, and the Netherlands, which are the main sources of the advanced tools and machines that are needed to make the chips. However, the US has been trying to stop China from getting access to these critical technologies, fearing that China could use them to enhance its military and artificial intelligence capabilities and challenge the US dominance in the global tech sector. The US has imposed various export controls and sanctions on Chinese chip makers and buyers, such as Huawei, Semic, and Hikvision, limiting their ability to buy or use US-made chips and chip-making equipment. The US has also pressured its allies. But how realistic is China's goal of becoming a chip powerhouse? And how effective are the US measures to contain China's rise in the chip sector? Well, the answer is not so clear, because there are many challenges and uncertainties on both sides. For China, the main challenge is to catch up with the US and its allies in the chip technology and innovation, which requires not only massive investments, but also years of research and development, and a pool of skilled and experienced engineers and scientists. China is still far behind the US and Taiwan in chip design and manufacturing, especially in some of the most advanced and sophisticated chips, such as the 3-nanometer chips that are currently being mass-produced by Samsung and TSMC. China is also facing a shortage of talent and intellectual property in the chip sector and has to deal with the issues of quality, reliability, and compatibility of its domestic chips. For the US, the main challenge is to balance its national security and economic interests and to maintain its leadership and competitiveness in the chip industry, which depends not only on its own innovation and production, but also on its cooperation and trade. The US export controls and sanctions could hurt its own chip makers and consumers who rely on the Chinese market for revenue and growth and who need access to the chip products and services from other countries, such as Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea. The US also has to deal with the risks of retaliation and escalation from China, which could lead to a further deterioration of the bilateral relations and a potential conflict in the Asia-Pacific region. The chip war is not just a technical or economic issue, but a geopolitical one that reflects the deeper rivalry and mistrust between the two superpowers. Let me know your thoughts, and be sure to take a moment to subscribe.